Thank you. Thanks, Muthu. Thanks, Ed, and also thanks for including me and inviting me here. So next up, I'm going to talk a little bit about like how we have also utilized Rapid Editor, and also how we are working with the communities to respond to disasters, or like other works, other studies, etc. Work with the communities to provide and complete the data in the OpenStreetMap. So I've seen a couple of questions as well, like you were asking how to contribute, and I had tried to share a couple of links to guide you to the right direction. But whenever like you need, just feel free to follow up. Connect with us so that we might have more time to dive deep into what you are looking for. So I am Can. I'm based in Izmir, Turkey. I'm currently working with the Humanitarian OpenStreetMap team and Humanitarian OpenStreetMap team's regional Asia Pacific hub as a senior manager for community and partnerships. I'm also a board member of a NGO, local NGO called Yer Cizenler, based in Turkey, which is part of the OpenStreetMap Turkish community. I'm also a part of the OpenStreetMap Turkish community, and I'm a contributor for the map for the maybe past 10 years. So if you want to get in touch with me, here's my email, here's my Twitter or X handle, or you can also see my OpenStreetMap username, which is open, so you can see every edit, every contribution, and every mistake that I have made over the past 10 years. So a little bit about Humanitarian OpenStreetMap team. So short, HOT or HOT, it's an international team dedicated to humanitarian action and community development through open mapping. And Humanitarian OpenStreetMap team is part of a very wide, worldwide OpenStreetMap community or an ecosystem. So what HOT is doing, or HOT is active in, you are seeing the regional hubs. So we have Latin America and the Caribbean, we have Western and Northern Africa, we have Eastern and Southern Africa, and we have Asia Pacific hubs. And you are seeing the countries which we are focusing on. And if you see like a highlighted color, these are the countries that we are prioritizing in terms of mapping. So a total of 94 countries throughout the world. As you can see in the global south, we are focusing on both community building and also improving the base map with the help of local communities, international and national NGOs and organizations, and maybe sometimes the government agencies as well. So each year, disasters around the world affect, displace, or kill millions of people, and missing maps can result in aid not reaching communities affected by disasters. So if you are probably living in a major city, which has a certain amount of population, which has a certain amount of economic activity, you might not be aware of the value of having a map, because all of the maps that you need are generally in your pockets, but it's not the case for every place in the world. And if you are going to the underdeveloped or in development regions under earthquake or poverty risk, this is a major problem. So missing maps is also focusing, a missing maps project is also focusing on that. So create reliable and up-to-date map data through OpenStreetMap for those vulnerable regions where the economic activity is causing the big data providers or the big map companies, let's say, to not prioritize there. And humanitarian mapping ensures that decision makers are able to rely on maps to better allocate resources and reach target communities. And as the open mapping hubs, the regional hubs that I have mentioned, within the Humanitarian OpenStreetMap team, we are aiming to connect NGOs, governments, and local communities so that they can use open data in decision making, and also they can take ownership of the data, so that the data that they are contributing to, the data that they are collecting, or the data that they are using in their work. And we want to work with partners to create free and shareable data in OpenStreetMap. And open mapping hubs also inspire and mobilize an OpenStreetMap movement across the region, supporting the growth of vibrant OpenStreetMap communities and ecosystems. I have mentioned, I have used the term missing maps, and the missing maps project that I have mentioned is aiming to map areas where people live at risk of disasters and crisis. And the aim is to, like in lots of examples, and I'm going to talk about the Turkey and Syria earthquakes as well. In lots of examples, access to data, access to reliable and up-to-date data is really a problem. And in times of emergencies and crisis, that need arises a couple of times than regular. And the aim of the Missing Maps project is to provide that map data before a disaster strikes, to complete the map data if possible before something happens, so that there's readily available data for the responders, the planners, the decision makers, etc. So the process is mapping through remote volunteers first. So remote volunteers, we are trying to mobilize remote volunteers globally to trace maps over satellite images. So provide input, provide data to OpenStreetMap, so that the base geometries, roads, buildings, some land use or water bodies, etc., the visible physical features are put on the map. And the second part is with the more expert and experienced volunteer communities, we're doing the remote validation. So ensuring the data quality, ensuring the geometrical accuracy, ensuring the thematic accuracy, also topological accuracy, etc. So there's a validation process. Once we have that base geometrical data created and validated, then it goes to the local partners, local organizations, and local communities to complete that data on the field through field validation and field data collection. Very similar stuff that Chris also showed, like adding phone numbers, opening hours, etc. If you go to a healthcare facility, what type of clinics are there, what are the bed capacity, etc. So you can both contribute through commercial features and also humanitarian features as well, depending on what you are interested in. And the outcome is the individuals, communities, and organizations can use the data and maps to better prepare and respond to disasters and crises. This is one example project that the Humanitarian OpenStreetMap team, in collaboration with the Western Northern Africa hubs and Eastern Southern Africa hubs in Nigeria and Kenya, utilizing AI-generated building footprints and using Rapid Editor to complete the map, complete the building and road geometries in regions within Nigeria and Kenya. And it is a satellite imagery for social good in Kenya and Nigeria. And the teams in those countries have used Rapid Editor to add and validate AI-generated building footprints into OpenStreetMap and generate and provide that data to decision makers that I need to plan and implement social and economic programs. So this is one example how the AI-assisted mapping or the AI-generated data through assisted mapping tools and Rapid Editors have been implemented. I have touched this question a little bit, so that don't we already have maps in our pockets? And not always. So when the big earthquake, not one earthquake, two major earthquakes, both larger than 7 in magnitude, in the same day that had struck Turkey in February. And the Dr. Chevik that you see on that screenshot, and if you follow that link later on, will be shared with you. And you might be able to also watch his testimony on how they were not able to find their ways, how they were not able to navigate within the ruins of the city because they didn't have any connectivity, and the maps within our pockets were not able to direct us because of connectivity issues. But Dr. Chevik happened to have organic maps, a map and a mobile app that is working with OpenStreetMap data in his pocket, so that he was able to navigate by using offline data and by using OpenStreetMap data. And this was the immediate use of OpenStreetMap data in emergencies. So you might have offline navigation, you might have offline apps available already when you are deployed in that region. But it was a huge event, and there was lots of that. This is a huge area. So I mean, the affected area in total is larger than most of the European countries, in fact. And it was very chaotic, and within the tasking managers that Humanitarian OpenStreetMap team has developed, with the support of Help.NGO, with the support of Missing Maps projects and Missing Maps partners, with the support of OpenStreetMap Turkey community, we were able to deploy a number of mapping projects and mapping tasks focusing on the major settlements and the affected areas. But more than 9,000 people have contributed to the mapping. And as a result of their contribution, 2.2 million buildings and 83,000 kilometers, almost 84,000 kilometers of road segments were added to OpenStreetMap, which were not there before, which was missing. But these data was made available with the support of 9,000 people, and this data made available to the communities and the agencies. And because the area was so large, because the urgency was very high, and because there were lots and lots and lots to be mapped, we also utilized Rapid Editor here, because in the Rapid Editor, there are like AI-identified, AI-generated data that is assisting the mapper, saying that I see a road here which is not probably on OpenStreetMap, so instead of just digitizing it node by node, do you want to add it automatically? And the user was saying yes. Similarly, within buildings, instead of just like tracing through the edges and the corners, etc., people were using the AI-generated data and Rapid Editor suggestions, so that the process was quite fast. The process was quite quick with respect to manual mapping. So especially in the Turkish projects, and especially in the projects within the Turkish boundaries and Turkish side, Rapid Editor and AI-generated data was used a lot. Unfortunately, AI-generated data was not available or was not released for Syria, so the mapping tasks in Syria had to be manually mapped, which also caused them to progress relatively slower to the projects within Turkey. Yeah, the Rapid Editor is already added within the tasking manager, and the project managers might activate and also like suggest or prioritize using Rapid Editor along with the standard ID editor, and also the more advanced, more customizable desktop editor, Geoawesome. So all three editors that you can see are provided as selections, but Rapid Editor was set as the default editor in order to just like address the urgency, so that the data was created or data was digitized and put on the map in a quick fashion. So there is a platform called HDX, Humanitarian Data Exchange. I don't know if you have ever used it or if you have seen it before, but like you can go to humdata.org, and there is a huge amount of open data sets that you can reach from lots of international and government agencies that have been released. And Humanitarian OpenStreetMap team has also released road and building data sets, also the damage building data sets as well, with the help of open satellite images and drone images collected after the event. Some of the collapse or heavily damaged buildings were also able to be identified and mapped. So these data sets have been one of the most downloaded data sets within HDX, as you can see. So these were the HDX downloads belonging to February and March. And as you can see, the destroyed building data sets and buildings, roads, etc., the Turkish data sets were the most downloaded data sets during that period in HDX. And it is all with the help of that 9,000 volunteers and also the rapid editor making the mapping, providing a quicker mapping feature. So how was the data used there? So the Search and Rescue Association and the Disaster Management Agency, they have used that building data sets, also the collapsed building data sets, in order to prepare the situation maps, where they were not able to access the central government's databases, or even if they were able to access those data, they were not able to download and use them in the situation maps. So OpenStreetMap data was heavily used there. Lots of maps and infographics were developed from organizations such as REACH, Crisis Ready, World Food Program, Médecins Sans Frontières, utilizing OpenStreetMap for their baseline data. It's not just having OpenStreetMap in the background as a layer. They were downloading, accessing the data, they were visualizing, they were analyzing, and they were able to create numerous reports regarding the situation. The community kept supporting. So I mean, it was constantly changing on the ground. So catching up with the constantly changing features in the field was also a challenge. So the imagery was very crucial there. So there were volunteer groups collecting street level imagery using Mapillary, for example, for some regions. There were drone operators sharing their data and releasing their drone imagery through Open Aerial Map, so that in some of the places, the Turkish OpenStreetMap community were also able to map the damage and also the temporary settlements, the refugee camps, etc. And if you, after the event, follow this link and watch the testimony of Dr. Uçum, you will be able to hear about how the mapping of that refugee camps helped both the health staff and also other responders and planners in the field. So I have talked a lot about what have worked well, but again, there were also some stuff that didn't work perfectly, or let's say lessons learned to improve in the next steps. So the AI generated data, when we look at it, there was inaccuracies in the AI generated data sets, especially on dense urban settings. So if there are adjacent buildings, the recognition of those buildings were not perfect. So multiple buildings were sometimes mapped as one, and there were lots of beginner, inexperienced mappers. They were not able to clearly distinguish these kinds of errors. So we can say that, especially in dense urban regions, the AI-generated buildings were not perfect. Sometimes road network classification suggestions, so the rapid editor and also the ID AI-generated data, so it is suggesting you a classification, but in reality, the road class might be a little bit different than what we suggested. And again, if you're a beginner or inexperienced mapper, sometimes you might not be able to tell those differences. So that was one of that. There were two cases that were affecting the accuracy and the quality of the data, and not just rapid editor, but like ID editor also has some data quality warnings, and those data quality warnings were misinterpreted again by some inexperienced mappers. So for example, if a road and a building is crossing each other, which they shouldn't, the editor gives you a warning, and in that warning it says that are they separate, or if they are really overlapping, is it an underpass or is it an overpass, etc. And sometimes the mapper, without knowing the difference, or without just for the sake of just running away from the warning. They were just accepting whatever the editor was suggesting, and sometimes those suggestions might be wrong. And where there wasn't underpasses or overpasses in those intersections, it was logged as underpasses or false bridges, false underpasses, etc. So these kinds of data quality errors were experienced and seen. So the Turkish community and also the global validator team within the humanitarian OpenStreetMap team were focusing and trying to fix these issues as well. There were a couple stories and questions from the ground, and the biggest lesson learned, but is what advice would you give to someone who is interested in using OpenStreetMap for emergency response efforts? Complete the map data before anything happens. But this is generally the sentiment that we are hearing from those 9,000 people. But the sad part of it is generally you cannot activate that many people. You cannot dedicate the support of this many people when there's not an emergency. But when there's an emergency, everybody is trying to contribute, everybody is helping, and it is something that we hear very frequently. Why didn't we complete that map before any emergency? So I think that's a dilemma going there. So everybody says that it should, but in normal times when there's no emergency, the support is not very much in that sense. So I have talked about Rapid generally, but as Chris and Ed told, like there's a new version of Rapid, and it is currently a pull request. So Rapid 2.0 has not yet been integrated to Tasking Manager. So when you go to Tasking Manager, when you select Rapid, you are directed to the previous version of Rapid, but it is a pull request, active pull request in GitHub. So it's been there for the past 2 weeks or so, and I'm hearing that it is prioritized. So within this month or next month, I think that Rapid 2.0 would be integrated to the Tasking Manager. So all of the features that Ed and Chris has shared would be also accessible for the disaster mapping and Tasking Manager as well. And some features like open data sets and repositories, etc. We are also like thinking around the ideas of like how data imports from open data sources to OpenStreetMap can work with the help of Rapid 2.0. So Ed, we might come to you. You might get an email from us sometime to explore these ideas as well. I hope I'm not over time too much. So thank you for giving me this space, and thank you for your patience. I would be happy to try to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.